Ya, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin. Sayyidina Muhammadin fil awwalin wal akhirin. Amma ba'd. Baiklah teman-teman guru hebat, sahabat portal rumah belajar, dimanapun Anda berada. Alhamdulillah pada malam hari ini kita kedatangan tamu spesial. Beliau adalah Dr Kieran McGeown. Beliau dari UK, Ireland. So, my friend, teacher of Indonesia, please join with us in YouTube because we will discuss about STEM. Salawat ma'assalam, marilah kita aturkan kepada junjungan kita baginda Nabi besar Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yang mana kita tiada henti-hentinya berharap mudah-mudahan nanti di yaumil akhir kita akan mendapatkan syafaat dari beliau Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Baiklah sahabat rumah belajar dimanapun Anda berada, tetap semangat seperti moto rumah belajar. Merdeka belajar, rumah belajar portalnya, dan majulah Indonesia. Baiklah teman hebat seluruh Nusantara, pada kesempatan hari ini kita kedatangan tamu spesial dari Ireland. Beliau adalah Dr. Kieran. How are you, Dr. Kieran?
I'm well, thank you, and thank you for inviting me onto your program.
Okay, thank you so much. We have to thank to you because you want to join with our talk show. We will discuss about STEM. By the way, Mr. Kieran, I have some question that maybe you can answer it. First, it's about STEM. What is STEM exactly?
Okay, so that's a very good question. STEAM is an acronym which stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. So that's what the 5 letters stand for. And the idea behind STEAM education is finding a way of being able to teach the knowledge that is inherent in each of those subjects and bring it together so that young people can apply it towards solving problems, real life problems that they can see around them in their everyday lives.
Okay, second question. I have here about STEM with my teacher that follow workshop like trainer, and then my question is, who is really create the STEM like this? Who is create STEM?
Okay, so if we look first of all at STEM, STEM is probably a better known term. And STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and maths. And there has been a lot of research and a lot of good practice attributed to STEM. So STEM originated, most people would say, in the United States, probably in the early 1990s. And so the idea behind that was to create graduates who could apply the knowledge that was being taught to them in science and technology and engineering and maths, and bring it together so that they could apply it towards solving problems. But then somebody pointed out that, for example, if you're designing buildings, if you're designing cars, if you're designing houses, if you're designing anything really, art comes into it. How you interpret design comes into it. And so a movement began to include art or applied design within that field of study. And so you have people who prefer STEM and leave out the art. And you have scholars and academics and teachers like me who think that art has a place, and hence we tend to follow the discipline called STEAM.
Okay, by the way, what is the difference? What is the difference between STEM and STEAM? STEAM and STAM. What is the difference? Because we always hear about both of them.
Well, I mean, if you think of what happens in most schools, you have children who are taught science, physics, chemistry, biology. They are taught technology or technology and design. Some schools now teach, in the UK, I'm talking about engineering. I don't know about Indonesia. And every school teaches maths. But what was missing there was the art. I mean, what about the imagination behind the designs that we bring about in order to solve problems? So the main difference is that it incorporates art, and that can be in the form of computer-aided design or sketching, but basically the ability to generate ideas through the eye of the artist, if you like, and use the imagination. Without art, there is a danger then that we just get into the fundamentals of science, technology, and maths, and deprive young people of the ability, perhaps, to apply their artistic abilities in terms of designing solutions that solve problems.
Okay. By the way, Mr. Kieran, I have heard that STEAM is benefit, is advantage for our student and our teacher. Can you explain it that a STEAM is really, really benefit for both teacher and student?
Okay, so I'll try to give you an answer as to why I think and other colleagues think that STEAM is very good for both teachers and pupils. Education, we would argue, is primarily about enabling young people to go out into everyday life, look at what's around them, and understand how artifacts, how things that they see every day have come about. And what I mean by that is if they go out into the street, for example, and they look up and they see the electricity pylons, they see the cars being driven along the streets, they see the buildings that have been built, we want them to be inquisitive and ask themselves and ask their teacher and discuss with each other, how did this come about? How did they actually create the ideas that enabled the engineers to build that building, to go about and building it? So within STEAM, what we do is we teach them, obviously, the basic facts that come about in science. We teach them about technology, and technology is a very broad term, but let's say what you're doing now, which involves technology and a lot of it. We teach them the basic principles of engineering. How do we apply the technology? How do we apply the science? How do we apply the maths in order to, for example, build bridges? And then we also say that, for example, again, if you want to build a bridge, you want it to look good. And so that's where the artistic interpretation of the aesthetic values come in. And so with all those different qualities and different aspects of an education, we want them to be able to understand that this is not just about learning facts so that you can pass exams or pass tests, but that you can actually use the knowledge you have and relate it to your everyday life and understand how those different theories, how those different facts from across the broad spectrum of the STEAM subjects can be applied to solve problems. In other words, we want to empower young people to be able to have the confidence that they can contribute to their societies as problem solvers. So our ultimate aim is to enable young people to become problem solvers. And I mean, there's different ways of being becoming problem solvers. I understand that we're talking about here within the sphere of having this type of knowledge being taught to them and enabling them to apply that knowledge, as I say, to contribute to the development of their own societies.
Yes, it's more interesting again. So it means that STEAM it should be consist of science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So how do we apply it? How do we apply it that both categories to my lesson or our our lesson in order to our students become eager to learn. But before that, be patient. There is something want to pass away.
Okay, so I take it, Umar, you want me to answer your previous question. One of the ways of applying it in schools is, of course, for teachers of the various subject disciplines to get together as a team and discuss what they're teaching in terms of how it could be used in everyday life to solve problems and to create examples which is relevant or are relevant to the children's everyday life. And then explain to children how the different skills and different knowledge, banks within the various subjects have been applied to bringing about a solution to a problem. So if you take an example of looking out of the school window and maybe seeing a bridge and being able to explain to the children, this bridge just didn't appear out of the ground, but actually there's a lot of maths involved in that. How do we get the structure of the bridge so that it's strong enough to carry load, to carry weight? In terms of the science, what type of metal do we use and why? If it's made of metal, maybe it's not made of metal, it could be made of wood. So, you've got the science and the technology and the maths that are inherent in the building of the bridge. And a lot of technology are used in bridges now with strain gauges to make sure that they can take the load that they're supposed to without collapsing. And so that's the broad bank of engineering. And then lastly, enabling young people to, for example, say to them, okay, now that you know what's basically needed to build that bridge, design your own, come up with your own designs. And that way too, you could bring in the soft skills, so-called, of team building, enabling pupils to exchange ideas and learning that life usually operates best when we operate as teams and we share ideas, share problems, and bring about, hopefully, solutions that benefit society.
Okay, by the way, Mr. Kieran, there are 4 teachers who has watched us in the YouTube. First, we say hello first to them. First, Miss Maya Sari. She is from Tanjung Pinang, Provinsi Kepulauan Rio, present. And then the second teacher, there is Nyamira from Samarinda, present. And then we say hello again to Lia Amalia, Maslihatun SPD MPD Jayapura Papua. Alhamdulillah hadir dalam talk show Sharing Growing Together. And then once again from Busrianto. Hi, I am listening from Payakumbuh, West Sumatra. Baiklah sahabat guru rumah belajar dimanapun Anda berada, mungkin Bapak Ibu guru yang lagi menonton, jika ada pertanyaan silakan chat di kolom chatnya. Nanti saya akan sampaikan kepada beliau Dr. Kieran. Silakan Bapak Ibu guru hebat, guru Nusantara bertanya tentang STEM ya. Boleh bertanya dengan bahasa Inggris, boleh dengan bahasa Indonesia. It's up to you. Which one do you like? Want to ask a question by using Indonesia? It's okay. Want to ask a question to Dr. Kieran by English? It's okay. It's up to you. Which one do you like? Okay, Mr. Kieran, there is newcomer again. Miss Andini Surijati. Andrini from Makassar, still watching. Thanks for sharing, Dr. Kieran. Okay, thank you, Miss Andini. Baiklah, teman-teman, silakan ya, jangan malu-malu. Don't be shy to ask a question to Dr. Kieran about STEM. Just write in chat or write in chat in Indonesian or English. It's up to you. Okay, we will wait for your question. Okay, my Mr. Kiran, I have question again. Uh, may I share about my game education, and then give your opinion? Is this game is that include for Steam or not? Please allow me to share some game that I make in internet like this. Can you see it, Mr. Kiran?
Yes, I can see it. Yeah.
Okay. Please give your opinion about my quiz that I have made a few minutes ago. Is it include to Steam or not? Like this. Okay, Mr. Kieran, that is my game that I usually play with my students uh, to delete their boring. What do you think about my game like that? Is it include technology or science or art or math?
Well, look, I mean, in terms of what we would call, some people might refer to as gamification of education, is a well used format. I think in terms of using it as a multiple choice quiz, it's very effective. In terms of giving instant feedback to students, it's also very effective. Does it use technology? Absolutely, obviously it does. What we would try to do possibly in that scenario, and you might also do, I don't know, is then through computer science, which is another subject within the STEAM spectrum, is then to show the students or the pupils how they might create games for themselves. In other words, get them together and say, okay, you've seen how this game works, you like it, you're learning from it now, I'm going to show you how you can create one for yourself. So in that sense, Umar, yes, it's very, very applicable. I see somebody's just joined us.
Okay, my friend is Minarti DRB of Papua has joined our room. By the way, Miss Minarti, maybe do you have about team? Please give your question to Mr. Kieran because we has begin our talk show about 15 minutes ago. Ya, Ibu Minarti, selamat datang di room kita. Mungkin Ibu Minarti ada pertanyaan kepada Mr. Kieran. Beliau from UK, Ireland. Silakan Ibu. Halo, Ibu Minarti.
Halo, suara saya terdengar, Pak?
Jelas Ibu, sangat jelas. Silakan Ibu.
Di sini lagi ada pemadaman listrik, jadi kelihatan gelap sekali. Sinyal mungkin nanti terputus-putus. Hello, good night, Mister. Dr. Kieran, hello, good night.
Hello, Minarti. Nice to see you.
Hello, how are you, Doctor?
I am well. I am well. How are you? Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I am hear you. I'm very interested about we can join in this in this
Discussion.
I can speak English good. So I still to study to speak English. So I'm very happy can you join this webinar, and Alhamdulillah, thank you, Dr. Kieran. You can join me and with Mr. Umar, and I I I hope you can sharing many information from STEM and for the teacher in Indonesia, and thank you very much. I say to thank you very much. Nggak bisa Pak pakai bahasa Inggris, nyoba-nyoba aja Pak.
Thank you, Minarti. It's very good of you to come on, and thank you for that. I think I can hear a baby crying in the background, so there may be somebody else wanting your attention. Yeah, but look, it's good to talk like this. It's good to share.
Okay.
Stuff.
I'm kedengeran, Pak?
Okay, Mr. Kieran, there is a senior teacher here. He is Mr. Sediono from Kabupaten Kemdikbud. I want to say hello first.
Izin Pak Sediono, selamat malam.
Ya, selamat malam Bu Minarti.
Terima kasih banyak Bapak izin sudah masuk di room kami. Subhanallah, luar biasa. Pak Dokter.
Iya.
Bapak izin kami lagi ada pemadaman listrik Pak di Papua. Kalau Pak Umar kayaknya baik-baik saja, cuma di Jayapura ini karena habis kebakaran.
Oh gitu Pak Umar, gak apa-apa ya Jayapura ya.
Yeah, Mr. Kieran, maybe I introduce first. He is Mr. Sediono.
Ya. Selamat Pak Umar, terima kasih Bu Minarti.
Oke, ya. Assalamualaikum Pak Sediono, bagaimana kabarnya Bapak? Halo Pak Sediono, bisa mendengar kita Bapak?
Alhamdulillah, baik-baik ya.
Iya Bapak, ini tadi kita sudah berbicara tentang STEAM dengan Mr. Kieran from Ireland. Mungkin Bapak
Ireland ya.
Agar pembicaraan kita lebih melebar Bapak, mungkin Bapak bisa bertanya kepada beliau karena di room sekarang guru-guru yang menyaksikan kita ada beberapa teman dari Nusantara. Yang pertama Ibu Mayasari dari Tanjung Pinang, Provinsi Kepulauan Riau. Kemudian ada juga Ibu Nyamira dari Samarinda hadir. Kemudian ada juga Ibu Lia Maslihatun dari Jayapura, Papua. Kemudian ada juga Pak Busrianto dari Payakumbuh, Sumatera Barat. Kemudian ada juga Ibu Andini dari Makassar. Kemudian ada Ibu Hesti dari Minahasa Tenggara. Dan satu lagi Bapak dari DRA Mayasari. Ya, beliau ada bertanya nih Bapak. Saya sampaikan dulu Bapak ya. Izin saya sampaikan kepada Mr. Kieran tentang pertanyaan beliau. Oke, Mr. Kieran, in chat box there is a question to you. This question is from DRA Mayasari. She asks you, how do you handle your team if all of the part of the student there is quota internet in their place? So how do you make a this condition? Do you get the picture, Mr. Kieran?
Okay, I just want to be sure what you're saying. Are you saying how you might implement STEAM education if there is poor internet? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's right. About that.
Okay.
Our students want to use STEAM, but unfortunately, and they feel it in their school, there are good internet. How do you handle it? Thank you, Mr. Kieran.
Okay, so Umar, just to check, are you saying how do they implement STEAM if there is poor internet connection? Is that what you're saying?
There are two possibilities. There are two possibilities. Maybe first there are no good internet, and then the second probability is they don't have a quota. There are someone to buy pulsa data like that.
Okay, look, in terms of the internet, it's not essential because what we're doing now, obviously it is essential, but in a classroom, the internet's not essential at all.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
All you have to do probably is look outside the window of the school and you'll see, design work everywhere and people who have been very innovative because they don't have internet. So no, internet's not necessary at all. I mean, I think the important thing is allowing pupils to come together and making them understand, or not making them understand, but bringing about an understanding that what they're being taught is useful to them in their everyday lives, not least about how they can cooperate together to solve a problem. I mean, for example, just a simple example, if there's a stream outside, a stream running along in a field, how do you get across it? So it can start with very basic, it might seem, problems, but coming up with solutions is the important aspect of this. So I can see Sediono there, he's probably agreeing with me. So the short answer is you don't need the internet. For those who are fortunate enough, possibly, to have the internet, then fair enough. That can bring about a different way of sharing information, and from a different perspective. So, you know, you use what you have in the situation that you find yourself in. But so the short answer is the internet's not necessary to bring about a very good educational experience within STEAM. I can't hear you. I've lost you.
Okay, thank you Mr. Kieran for your answer. Baiklah, Ibu Mayasari, beliau mengatakan bahwasannya masalah internet solusinya adalah mengenai pulsa bisa dibicarakan bersama dengan kepala sekolah, dengan pihak stakeholder sekolahnya, agar masalah internet itu bisa ditangani. Tetapi beliau juga tidak menyebutkan bahwasannya internet masalah utama untuk melakukan pembelajaran STEAM, karena ada beberapa faktor yang menunjang STEAM. Adalah yang pertama tentang bagaimana STEAM itu bisa dilaksanakan agar anak-anak bisa mengatasi masalah dan yang kedua adanya kerjasama dari tim kru sekolah tersebut. Jadi untuk mengatasinya ada beberapa cara. Mungkin ada tambahan dari Pak Sediono tentang pertanyaan Ibu Mayasari. Bapak, silakan Bapak Sediono.
Oke, ya terima kasih Pak Umar, Bapak-bapak dan Ibu para sahabat rumah belajar. Saya sampaikan selamat malam. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, puji syukur kepada Tuhan. Pada saat ini kita bisa berbagi bagaimana mengaplikasikan STEAM itu dalam pelajaran di sekolah yang sudah diprakarsai oleh Pak Umar. Dan saya kira in this opportunity I would like to introduce myself to Dr. Kieran. That my name is Sediono Abdullah, coming from the Ministry of Education and Culture from Indonesia, and we are happy through this opportunity. My team leader, the Mr. Umar, is opening the communication and sharing experience through the international communication with you. I am very happy because it is a very amazing opportunity. Because from Indonesia, Jakarta, and Ireland is too far, but this is a reality that the bridge between Jakarta and in your country is now in place. So we can sharing together with Papua, with all the selected best teacher from Indonesia, and it is the the special teachers, the special experience to be an historical memory with you. And then I think the opportunity like this, the sharing experience like this, I am fully support to Mr. Umar to live again, to open again the sharing experience between the international experts like Dr. Kieran with us today, and share together to all the selected teachers, special teachers all over Indonesia. Thank you again, Dr. Kieran. We do hope you will give opportunity to us to discuss in detail about how to apply the STEM learning in our classroom in Indonesia with the local context of Indonesia, with the local condition of Indonesia, and based on our sharing, we could make a more joyful STEAM learning in the classroom. We hope this opportunity should not the last one, but we do hope to continue in the long run. So it is my expectation to Dr. Kieran. Again, I am very happy, and considering the question of the teachers in Indonesia, since the STEAM learning is not, not yet implemented in the all school in Indonesia, I think this opportunity can be a point of departure, can be a starting point, yeah, to get understanding about implementing the STEAM learning in the classroom in Indonesia. So what we would like to share to my colleagues in Indonesia, that STEAM is the the learning paradigm. How to make a mindset of the learning paradigm and learning to do, learning to make more contextual with the local context, with the natural resources in our environmental, and also with the social culture, with the culture of in Indonesia. So how to make the connections, the relationship, the design engineering process of the learning to the solution of the problem in our daily life. So it means that if the learning resources from another teachers in different places, in a different context, in a different natural resources, in a different culture, it means that the STEAM learning should be a different. The STEAM learning should customize design. Customized design with the local culture, with the local natural, with the local social condition. This is what we are thinking about, how make learning of the STEAM is useful and meaningful for the student practically in their own community. Yeah, yeah. This is of course that the STEAM learning face many problem, like mentioned by Mr. Umar, that there are limited internet, limited networking in the Papua context. I think don't make the limitation of internet, the limitation of the networking as as a problem in implementing the STEM learning. Yeah? It means that STEM learning should consider the real situation in your context. Yeah, yeah. Please use the most learning resources as a starting point, as as a part of the STEAM learning in your classroom. It means that internet is only only a tool, yeah, in designing more appropriately the STEAM learning. This is my opinion, yeah, Dr. Kieran, yeah. I think maybe at the time my opinion is wrong, but I would like to make all the special teachers in Indonesia that contextualization of the STEAM learning is important. Yeah, this is what we want to share to all the teachers that participate in our broadcasting today. Jadi Pak Umar, gitu Pak Umar. Jadi apa yang menjadi satu desain daripada STEM itu harus kontekstual, customize dengan lingkunganmu. Ya, jadi kalau lingkungannya nggak ada internet ya jangan menggunakan internet, tapi menggunakan real life saja. Karena itu adalah satu desain engineering proses untuk membuat anak-anak punya satu berpikir kritis, punya kreativitas, punya kolaborasi, punya apa yang menjadi satu solusi terhadap apa yang dihadapi dalam kehidupan sehari-hari. Sehingga ini akan menjadi satu titik anjak bagi anak-anak untuk belajar mengaplikasikan apa yang menjadi minat, bakat, dan kemauannya dia. Nah, gitu. Jadi jangan sampai menjadikan local contact itu hilang daripada STEAM learning itu sendiri, gitu. Jadi ya baguslah. Saya kira teman-teman ini satu jembatan yang sudah menjadi bangunan yang hebat ini, saya kira. Terima kasihlah untuk sudah menjadi pemrakarsa. Tolong itu nanti dilanjutkan untuk berikut-berikutnya, terutama dalam konteks untuk kita membudayakan ini dalam rumah belajar ya di Pustatin ini. Dr. Kieran, that we are in Indonesia, we have a learning resources we call the rumah belajar. Rumah belajar is learning house in English. Rumah belajar is the name, ya. Dan rumah belajar is already recognized by UNESCO as a learning resources for all Indonesian students, especially in the pandemic of COVID, when the Ministry of Education and Culture have a policy in providing the student learning from home.
Well, look,
student learning from home. This is now the policy.
Can I just say that everything you've said is common sense, and I agree with it. Sediono, I can't disagree with anything you've said, because it is all about the local context and how you apply the learning within the local context. I mean, you're absolutely right. Otherwise, you can enter into this misconception that STEAM learning can only take place within a high technological environment, and that's not true at all. So you're absolutely 100% correct. The other thing I would say to you is that, what myself and a few colleagues have had experience of delivering courses to teachers on an international basis, and maybe that's another conversation that we can have. We've done that face-to-face, and now because of the pandemic, we're now doing it online. But I think you would agree that, and so I can pass the details on to our friend here, and I have just sent the address to you. But our focus, and I think you would agree with this, is that the student is at the center of the learning. So our approach is to take what's known as a student-centered learning approach. And that means that it's not always teacher-led. The teacher is a facilitator that enables the pupils, as you have said correctly, to try and become problem solvers, so that they can become, if you like, useful citizens, and that everybody looks towards trying to solve problems. So I think you're very wise in the way that you're approaching the education scenario. And I joined, as I said to Umar before, my previous background was in education and teaching the teachers and teacher education.
Okay.
So I now have a small company with a few colleagues of mine, and we call it You Can Achieve. And the reason that we have that name is because so that you can say to children, this is something that you can do. And it doesn't matter whether it's in a small village primary school with very little technological advantages, or in the city type school, which has all the advantages. It is about spotting, if you like, for the want of a better word, and understanding that every child has the ability to contribute. Every child. And all they need is the right environment. So, Umar, I have sent you on the address, and what an email address there. And we have some resources that we're just creating, and we would love you to have a look at them, and just free access, and tell us what you think, and we'll also give you an outline of some of the courses that they have for teachers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kieran. To be honest, Mr. Sediono, I have come to their teacher group English. Especially, I have included their group so that we can make a webinar like this, because I have a group especially for English teacher. That's why this is the second webinar from our group English. That's why it's don't worry. It will be continue to this webinar next future. This is the second webinar. Jadi Pak Sudiono, saya dengan beliau, Kiran, dan teman-teman guru bahasa Inggris, kita sudah membuat grup. Jadi rencananya nanti akan mungkin 2 hari sekali atau 3 hari sekali, kita akan mencoba untuk melakukan webinar dengan topik yang berbeda. Jadi ini sudah yang
bagus. Ya.
Selanjutnya, Mr. Kiran, to be honest, our government has made something easiness for our students and our teacher in Indonesia to use STEAM, especially to the portal of government. Please allow me to share it like this, Mr. Kiran. Our government has made portal free to support STEAM education to all of the teacher and all of the students in Indonesia. Like this, we just click Rumah Belajar Kemdikbud in Google, and then click this, and then this portal is support to the STEAM regularly, especially for Kelas Maya. This is the tool that used to our teacher and students to make collaborate like blended learning. So the teacher and the student can discuss anything about their subject lesson to this Kelas Maya. And the second, there is a tool like this, Sumber Belajar. It means that this tool contain of so many lessons that can download by student or teacher by way of video like this. So they can use directly in internet, it's okay. But if they don't have internet, they can use by offline. So that is the second benefit. And then the third benefit, this tool is named Bang Soal. Bang Soal, it means that there are a lot of examination in this tool, from elementary school, junior school, and senior high school. So there are a lot of so many examinations. So that we hope our students make progress in their examination by doing exercise like this. And then the fourth benefit, like its name Laboratorium Maya. It means that this tool is used for our school that doesn't have a laboratorium like this. Their school can still make experiment about the water, which one is consists of electric, which one is consists of molecule. It can be used in this tool like this. We just click on saklar, and then the student is to guide to choose the kind of water. If the kind of water consists of electric, so the lamp is on like this. For example, I click genuine water, the lamp is not on. It means that genuine water, it doesn't has electric. And then how different if I click salt water like this? Look at this, there is a change. The lamp is on. It means that salt water has electric. That is the name Laboratorium Maya. So this tool, especially for portal Rumah Belajar, there are a lot of tools that can be used to our students both on internet, on offline like this. In fact, all of in our school doesn't have telescope, so they cannot see the stars, the moon, and so on that are in the sky. But if we click this tool, Wahana Jelajah Angkasa, so it means that we can see the star, the moon, and so on the sky. This is the tool of Rumah Belajar, especially about like this planet. So our student can see in the sky of the planet. For example, if I click Mars, so our student can see planet Mars, and we click Sun, so our student can see the planet of Sun, and so on. If I click Jupiter, so they can our planet Jupiter, I mean. So this is the benefit for portal Rumah Belajar. According to you, Mr. Kiran, this portal, is it include the STEAM that you had explained? Because in this portal has consists of science, technology, and then art, engineering, and math. What do you think about this, Mr. Kiran?
Okay, so that was very interesting. I mean, I think the essence of what we're talking about is how to apply the knowledge that you're learning to solving problems. And within what you showed there was an example of why is the lighting in the one instance and not lighting in the other. So that's good. I think what Mr. Abdullah and I were also saying was, okay, you've got this knowledge. Let's have a look outside the window. Let's go outside and see, is there anywhere we can apply this knowledge towards solving a problem? And that's the next step. So there's knowing how a problem is solved already, and then there's looking for a problem, or creating the teacher creating a scenario where you have to apply that knowledge to solve a problem for which there's no known answer. Yeah. And one of the things that we have to recognize is that it's okay to be wrong. And in fact, scientists are wrong all the time. They they have a problem, they try a solution, it doesn't work. You learn from your mistakes and you keep applying that knowledge until you reach the point where you have reached the solution. So what I'm saying is excellent, what you've shown there. And the next step is taking it to where they have a problem, which there's no known answer to, and they say, okay, you've got this knowledge, now let's try and work together to solve the problem. So everything there that you've put there is really, really good. I would suggest that you could go a step further at the next level. The other thing I would say to you is that if you're going to do remote learning, and again, I'm going back to what Mr. Abdullah said, it's not necessary to have this everywhere. We understand that every school is not going to be at the top end of the technological, but for remote learning, and what you said, how to apply STEAM in the pandemic, we have now the ability to monitor how students apply themselves when they're online. You know, how often they're actually engaging with the content, what type of progress they're making. And with the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning, we can guide them towards the next level. So there's different ways that we can keep building. And of course, we have to become problem solvers ourselves. You know, we have to keep ahead of the game, so to speak, and enable the students to keep developing their knowledge and keep applying it. So the short answer again to what is a complicated scenario is that everything you seem to be doing there is on the money, and it's the right way to approach it. But we have to keep asking ourselves questions about what benefit is it in terms of the students becoming problem solvers, and on the soft skills, like we're doing now, the ability to be able to sit down and discuss problems and understand that there's usually no immediate answer. You know, usually it's not that simple, and that we learn more from each other than we think at times, if that makes sense.
Para guru hebat seluruh Nusantara, sepertinya pembicaraan kita semakin menarik, more interested, but before that there is something there is something question for you. Let me check the chat. This is question from Mr. Busrianto. Can you see it, Mr. Kiran?
Yes, I can. So Busrianto says that he or she, I don't know which, is confused about what we mean by STEAM. And I think what we said before was that STEAM is an acronym, and it stands for science, technology, engineering, art, which is a very broad term, and mathematics.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about, though, is not just those subjects as individual subject knowledge, silos. What we're talking about is how we can apply the knowledge that we gain from studying the science, the technology, the engineering, the art, and the maths, and applying that knowledge towards solving problems. And the key thing is using it to solve problems. There's no good knowing all this knowledge. It's not a memory test. We don't want to prove how great our memory is, or that we can recite all this stuff, but how we can use it towards solving problems.
Ya, jadi begitu Pak Busrianto, intinya pembelajaran STEAM itu kita menciptakan sebuah pembelajaran yang mana pembelajaran itu membiasakan anak-anak didik kita untuk berpikir kritis dan bisa memecahkan masalah yang dihadapinya. Mungkin seperti itu ya.
I think yes, that's right. Yeah, what explanation from Dr. Kieran is very clear, that the design engineering process to solve the problem in daily living. So how the student as as a center of the learning. It means that learning to do, or knowing is doing, or doing is knowing. So this is the the process, engineering design process to solve the problem in daily life. I think what Dr. Kieran mentioned, how the STEAM applied in the classroom is like that. So please consider your student as the center of learning. Please to make a student participate in the project-based learning, in the solving the problem in the community, maybe in the family, and in all places that contactual with the student in the community. Thank you, Dr. Kieran. Very good.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for Mr. Sediono has explained about what is STEAM. Jadi begitu Pak Busrianto ya. Jadi intinya pembelajaran STEAM adalah bagaimana kita memberikan pusat pembelajarannya kepada siswa yang mana siswa agar lebih kreatif lagi, bisa berpikir kreatif dan bisa berpikir kolaborasi yang intinya pembelajarannya berpusat pada siswa. Tinggal Pak Busrianto bagaimana mensikapinya pembelajaran agar bisa pembelajarannya bisa mengandung unsur STEAM-nya. Next question, Mr. Kieran from Sri Handayati. Let me show you. She is asked a question to you. How do we apply this theme to the new pandemic like this? And how do we make assessment for theme like that?
Okay,
Can
so
you get the picture, Mr.
I think so. I think so. The second part of the question I'll deal with first because it's brought up a very important aspect. I'm hearing stuff in the background. I don't know what it is, but how do you assess progress is very important. And actually, that's quite a complicated scenario, especially in group work. The traditional way of assessing progress is the end of term exam. And, you know, we're not talking about that so much here. What we're talking about is, for example, in a group scenario where you have a group of children working together to solve a problem, although it can be done individually, how do you assess what contribution each one of them is making towards trying to solve a problem? That's quite complex, you know, and it takes a teacher to be very observant to make sure that, you know, one pupil doesn't take over and tries to provide all the answers. So that we would need to have a longer conversation about that. But in simple terms, when a teacher puts a problem in front of a group of students or an individual student in terms of a problem, they will have to have an assessment matrix made out about how they can assess whether or not the learning objectives that they originally set at the start of the lesson are being met. So in other words, when you start to teach a subject or you start to teach STEAM in whatever format it is, you share with your students, this is what you should be able to demonstrate an understanding of at the end of this lesson, at the end of this course. And it's within those parameters that you measure what progress is being made. So let's take an example of, you know, how we often use the example of a bridge. Triangulation, using triangles because they're the strongest structure. So there would be some mathematics inherent in that about how they work out how many, you know, pieces of timber they use, or if you're using straws, how many pieces of straw they use. You could have something involved in there about cost because they might have to buy the materials in a simulated format. There could be some assessment of the artistic design of the bridge. How does it fit in with the local environment, as Mr. Abdullah has mentioned? So, I mean, I'm just saying I'm creating these parameters off the top of my head, but it would need to be carefully thought through by the teacher or teachers as to exactly what the learning objectives are before they begin the lesson. And those need to be very clearly thought out, because the danger is that you can create an exercise which children can get involved in, and at the end of it, if all that's being suggested is if they can't build the bridge, and it, for example, and it doesn't hold the load, then it's a failure. And that would be a totally wrong way of doing it, because they can get to the point where, you know, they build the bridge and the load makes the bridge come up, and yet they have had a lot of success and they've learned a lot from the process. So it's something that needs to be very carefully discussed based on the learning objectives right at the start of the program. So, for example, if you're designing a set of 6 lessons, you have the overall learning objectives. You as a teacher, or we as teachers, will have thought it through. What is it that we expect the children to be able to demonstrate an understanding of within that program? And then we drill down into the individual lessons and say, okay, so what is it we expect them to be able to demonstrate an understanding of from that one lesson? And if you imagine that you have 20 pupils, you've got to remember, and we talked about student-centered learning, that every student is an individual, and they will not be able to, you can't expect them all to progress at the same level. So it may well be that there are some students who, and probably will be some students who progress faster than others, and you set them more advanced problems. You can do that. And that allows you more time as a teacher to assist those students who are perhaps having more difficulty. So the teacher has to be a very skilled person in terms of being able to keep remembering that the student is at the center of the learning, and the teacher's purpose is to serve the pupils. And it's a bit like the orchestra. The teacher has to be a bit like the conductor of an orchestra, and he has to listen very carefully. Is everybody playing the instruments the way they should be? So, that's the way I would approach it. And I think so long as we're very clear about the learning objectives that we set out at the beginning of our teaching, then everything should progress as best it can.
Yes.
Iya, demikianlah Ibu Sri Handayati penjelasan dari beliau. Jadi intinya semuanya dikembalikan ke Ibu Sri selaku guru yang hebat. Jadi Ibu Sri bisa melakukan penilaian dengan cara yang seperti beliau sebutkan, bahwasanya bagaimana peserta didik kita bisa mereka bekerja sama dalam menemukan suatu permasalahan yang mereka hadapi di lingkungannya. Jadi penilaiannya terletak pada seberapa jauh anak-anak kita bekerja sama, seberapa jauh anak-anak kita mencoba untuk mencari permasalahan sumber daripada permasalahan tersebut dan menyelesaikannya, dan yang tak kalah pentingnya bagaimana anak-anak kita bisa mempresentasikan apa yang sudah ditemukannya. Jadi begitu Ibu Sri. Jadi intinya bahwasanya kita memberikan kesempatan kepada anak kita untuk menyelesaikan masalah-masalah. Jika dihubungkan dengan masa pandemik ini, jadi salah satunya kita sebagai guru harus sering mengunjungi portal Rumah Belajar, karena di portal Rumah Belajar kita bisa memberikan project based problem, model pembelajaran project based problem, yang mana dengan model tersebut kita bisa mengarahkan anak-anak untuk menemukan apa-apa yang mereka belum ketahui. Misalkan anak-anak kita kasih tugas untuk mencari budaya yang ada di Indonesia dengan mengklik peta budaya, maka mereka akan bereksplor Ibu Sri, mencari dan menemukan budaya yang ada di Nusantara. Jadi begitu Ibu Sri, silakan dieksplor menggunakan Rumah Belajar dengan menggunakan agar anak-anak kita lebih kreatif lagi. Oke, Mr. Kieran, thanks for Dr. Kieran. Ibu Sri Handayani say thanks to you for your explanation. And then, do you mind, Mr. Kieran? We have still time to answer my question, friend. Maybe
Umar,
again, Mr. Kieran.
I have time for one more question. I have another appointment to go to in about 10 minutes. So you'll have to excuse me after about 10 minutes. I'll have to go.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much,
Yeah.
Mr. Kieran. Okay. This is ini
Iya, betul. Semangat.
Sediono bertanya ini. Yeah. Our teacher in Indonesia is a spirit to give a question to you, Mr. Kieran, especially about STEAM. Let me read first. Okay? This is from Mr. Busrianto. He asks you, STEAM is integrated learning, right? This is using technology. I believe students like it, but students will be lazy to read. My question is, how to trigger the student to read by using STEAM.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Monggo lagi. Okay, please answer.
okay. So the thing I would say to, and we're all laughing at that because students or pupils are the same everywhere. It doesn't matter what country you're in. Some days they want to learn, and other days they don't. But your role as a teacher is to create an environment which makes it exciting for them, and that they want to learn, and that it's a very comfortable and safe environment. And that when they come into your classroom, they look around and you've got displays on the walls or whatever it takes, and they say, "Wow, I really want to do something here." Now that again sounds simple. It's not. It's about building up relationships with your pupils. So I'm going to take the last part of the question first. And it asks, how do I trigger the students to read by using STEAM? Oh, yeah, that's quite a complicated question. And I suppose one answer that I could give is explaining to them, how much of an advantage it is for them to be able to read about, science and technology and maths in terms, as Mr. Abdullah said, that's relevant to their everyday life. The key is making it relevant to their everyday life. There's no good talking about stuff that they don't understand. So I think the answer to it is that you've got to, as a teacher, be able to contextualize the teaching and learning that you're doing, so that the pupils can see it as being something, A, that's relevant to their own everyday life, and B, that they can see that they can apply it as well within their own environments. And we've also got to be able to sell learning, for the want of a better word, as something that's exciting. Do you know what I mean? That it's something that really enables them to live better lives and in essence, to be able to have, if you like, to make learning fun, so that, by exchanging ideas and by talking to their peers and their fellow pupils, that they can understand that they have a lot of power in terms of collective thinking. So the bit about technology is also a complicated question, but we can use this device here just to sit and look at, and we can become brain dead by looking at it. So again, I think it's the onus is on the teacher to make this tool, for example, and the computers, if they're available, as something that can be enhance their development as a human being. So that's a pretty complicated question, and I mean, it would need further discussion. But in simple terms, I think we have to somehow make teaching and learning relevant to the pupils. And going back to my original point, which I think Mr. Abdullah agreed, to make students at the center of the learning, and make sure it's them doing the majority of the activities within a lesson, and that the teacher is not just standing up at the front of the class talking all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you Mr. Kiran for your explanation. Jadi begitu Pak
I'm sorry, one other
Saya
point.
bertanya,
Just if I may interrupt, one other point. I've just seen the top line again. We talked about integrated learning. There's a difference between integrated learning and multidisciplinary learning. Integrated learning suggests that STEAM is one subject and we're studying everything inside one subject. There is another method which is called multidisciplinary learning, which is a method whereby you're teaching the subjects separately, but you're coming together as a group and you're applying the knowledge towards solving problems. So personally, I favor the multidisciplinary approach. Others might suggest that it's the integrated. That again is a very complicated question, and how you apply it to schools, because then you're into how you manage the schools and how you create timetables and how the teachers cooperate, etc., etc. But that's a very, very good question. Whoever asked it, that was an excellent question.
Okay, Mr. Kiran, thank you so much for your explanation. Jadi begitu anak kita yang kurang belajar, kurang minat membaca, tergantung daripada Pak Busrianto bagaimana menyentuh hati anak-anak siswa dan memberikan penjelasan tentang bagaimana pentingnya membaca. Karena pembelajaran STEAM yaitu pembelajaran yang mana berpusat kepada siswa dan bukan bersifat kepada guru. Jika kita berpusat pada guru, maka kita sendiri yang berbicara. Tetapi ketika kita berpusat pendidikannya kepada anak-anak, maka anak-anak tersebut yang membaca dan mempelajari materi yang sudah kita berikan. Kita guru hanya mengarahkan mereka untuk lebih kreatif lagi dalam memecahkan masalah materi yang kita berikan dan kita tinggal mengarahkan. Masalah teknologi, Mr. Kieran mengatakan bahwasanya HP itu sudah merupakan teknologi karena bisa untuk berkomunikasi baik melalui WA dan lain-lain. Jadi begitu Pak Busrianto, tetap semangat dan buat anak didik kita tersentuh dengan pembelajaran kita. Bagaimana caranya itu nanti akan berlangsung sesuai dengan adaptasi Pak Busrianto lakukan di kelas. Jadi intinya Pak Busrianto melakukan pembelajaran melalui pembelajaran yang berpusat kepada peserta didik dan mengarahkan mereka untuk bisa bekerja sama, kemudian menyelesaikan masalah yang dihadapi, kemudian mampu mempresentasikannya di depan teman-teman lain sehingga akan terwujud kerjasama sifat yang baik, kerjasama antara peserta didiknya. Jadi begitu Pak Busrianto, kurang lebihnya penjelasan dari beliau. Mungkin Pak Sediono ada tambahan dengan pertanyaan yang guru berikan?
Ya, betul. Jadi excellent explanation, Dr. Kieran. Thank you very much for your inspiring experience in our STEAM learning. Bapak dan Ibu, apa yang menjadi satu policy pada saat ini memang harus kita mulailah untuk bagaimana menjadikan anak itu sebagai pusat belajar. Jadi anak-anak lah yang belajar, bukan orang tuanya yang belajar, bukan gurunya yang belajar, tetapi bagaimana mendesain proses pembelajaran yang berpusat kepada anak sehingga anak itu akan menjadi senang belajar. Kalau kemudian nanti kurang semangat membaca, ya bagaimana kita memberikan semangat supaya dia bisa membaca kan gitu. Jadi bagaimanapun juga harus dibuat bacaan-bacaan yang menarik mungkin gitu. Nah hasil karya anak ini nanti jangan kemudian dibuang, tetapi dipajang untuk bisa menjadi satu display yang bisa digunakan anak-anak untuk belajar menyempurnakan apa yang menjadi hasil-hasil yang sebelumnya, sehingga perkembangan daripada problem solving ataupun kreativitas karya anak-anak yang didisplay, dipajang itu menjadi bahan-bahan juga untuk guru meningkatkan pelajarannya pada minggu-minggu yang akan datang gitu. Itu Pak Umar ya, itu tambahan saya. Terima kasih.
Iya, terima kasih Sediono. Mungkin Ibu DRB mau menambahkan pertanyaan yang diberikan Pak Busrianto, Ibu Duta, monggo. Ibu Duta?
Izin Pak, saya keluar masuk tadi saya tidak memperhatikan betul karena sinyalnya susah sekali di sini, habis mati lampu, habis ada kebakaran kan, jadi saya tidak memperhatikan dengan baik. Yang jelas kalau kami sebagai guru, kalau istilah Jawanya pokoknya nggak ada dalang yang kalah sama wayangnya, begitu ya Pak Sediono ya, izin. Jadi kiat-kiat apa pastinya guru pasti punya banyak trik untuk membuat siswanya itu agar lebih bersemangat, mungkin dengan selain mengadakan pojok-pojok baca untuk berliterasi agar minat membaca anak-anak itu meningkat, juga mungkin guru bisa mendesain beberapa jenis tempat atau spot-spot yang dihias, kemudian ditempatkan buku-buku yang sekiranya menarik untuk anak-anak, dan tentunya disediakan tempat-tempat yang nyaman untuk anak-anak untuk membaca. Itu kalau saya untuk meningkatkan minat membaca anak-anak seperti itu sih. Izin Pak,
Ya.
Pak Sediono, Dr Kieran, Pak Umar.
Ya.
Monggo Pak Umar dilanjutkan.
Iya, terima kasih Bu atas jawabannya. Oke, Mr. Kiran, there is say thank for Mr. Busrianto for that question. Thank you, Mr. Kiran, for your explanation, and the host, Mr. Umar. You welcome, Busrianto. Keep spirit to struggle with your students. Be generous for your students. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it was very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much. Lovely to meet everybody. Thanks very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kiran has a good explanation, and then because of the time is finished, so we have to finish our meeting because there is no question again. Thank you very much for Mr. Kiran. Thank you so much, Mr. Sediono. Thank you so much, Mrs. Minarti DRB Papua. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for you has joined.
Beautiful.
Sorry, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Kiran, I have no bad connection.
Nice to meet you, Minarti. Nice to meet you.
Yes, okay. Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much for all of you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mr. Kiran, before bye. Okay, thank you very much.
Pak Sediono, terima kasih banyak Pak
Thank you
Ye.
very much, my team.
Matur
Ya,
sembah
sama-sama Bu
nuwun.
Nati. Ya, sama-sama.
Ya.
Kita ini pokoknya
Ya,
Siap. Terima kasih sudah bersama Papua, Bapak. Minta maaf Pak Umar ya.